was like, I'm gonna keep pestering you until you send me that link.
That's funny. Do you care if I stand up here until then?
What?
Stand up here while you do your normal intro.
Oh yeah. I just have like 2 announcements. One, we're promoting you to president.
Hey, you should be standing up there and being like, come on.
Let's get this shit rolling.
No one's here to see you.
He's just like contemplating what.
That's what my mom said.
So the other night, I was like, this year, the other guy was like, hey man, sorry I bullied you. And the guy like hands up and like puts on lipstick like 60s music. Like this is my imagine right now.
Wait, Carol?
No, Clark. No, Clark, which makes it even better. You show me today.
You're gonna get our video pro, Kate.
Oops. Oh, are you You're not recording right now, are you? Oh.
We're working on a schedule here, Kate.
I guess I was not prepared for that.
It's 6:55. We go live at 6:55.
Oh no, that was recorded about my mom. She's gonna kill me. Oh, that was recorded too.
So is this one of those if we yell really loud, we'll be on the video? So
Is your goal to start at 7 or for me to start at 7?
I start at 7, then we'll start rolling after that. Are those taped?
You just text me. I know why Kate's got the music.
I text you?
Because when it's put up on
Oh, sorry.
YouTube,
Oh, I was on a roll.
I assume they cut that out.
Audio's muted, and there's nothing that can be done.
That would actually be really sad.
It's happened to a couple friends of mine. They were playing music in the background and they lost all their audio because it automatically went over and cut it.
Well, that's going to be cut out in production, right, Chris?
Yeah. These are all heavily produced.
Fix it in post-production. That's what everybody else does.
Yep. Get it.
I'll stop the music.
I don't think it's
You play
really
whatever you
picking
want.
up any of it.
No, you're fine.
Oh.
People.
I don't want to get in trouble for this. But now it's silent, so I don't know. Sing it.
Sing it, Daniel. Sing it.
Tell it to go.
Tell a joke?
Oh, you got 3 minutes.
Oh, hey, Joey. How are you?
I don't know what joke.
Do you want to go be announcements?
What?
Announcements.
Are we still talking about next week?
So there are 2 cows on the
Oh,
hill.
boy, I did not leave.
One says moo. The other says dude. I was just about to say that.
I'm trying to get
This is a response.
All right. Sounds legit.
Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Outstanding in his field.
That's terrible.
They only get worse
Muffins
from here.
are in an oven. One says to the other, man, it's hot in here. Other says, holy crap, talking muffin! What did the farmer say when he lost his tractor?
I don't know.
Where's my tractor?
That's a
Sounds
legitimate
That's
question.
a legitimate question.
That's a legitimate question.
Very strong.
I went there.
What?
Someone's driving, so he's got it in the passenger seat.
Oh, that's adorable.
2 minutes.
Almost like an eternity.
Careful, Brian.
You're going to ask him really silly questions, aren't you?
You miss the music now, don't you?
Actually, I think we're gonna have to play something.
I feel like that's the only thing you can do. People are waiting, talking, whatever.
It's perfect.
Thanks for that.
People do it in between talks at conferences.
You're really coming in hard.
The problem is when people don't turn it off and it plays during the conference.
Yeah.
He's like,
Is it on Amazon or something?
DEF what?
isn't that free? Isn't that the free portion right now that they give them away?
Maybe you could say that.
Good job.
Because it's past tense.
Past tense.
Oh.
That's so bad.
I love that one.
That's so bad.
How far can a dog run into a forest? Halfway, because the other half is running out.
Welcome.
Now Sam's here. Now we can't have any more fun.
Oh, shut it down. Shut it down.
Time to go home.
It is time.
It's cute how he's trying to grow a beard.
What, me? Yeah, I know, every day.
No, Sam.
Oh, okay.
I was just too lazy to shave this morning.
Alright, so welcome to misec. I just got two quick announcements before we get rolling here. One, of course, is volunteers for Converge B-Sides. If I haven't put you on a spreadsheet yet, come see me. Also coming up next month is we're doing our first misec panel. So that's going to be kind of like an event where we get together in a large room similar to this, and we have a couple panel speakers, and we're going to go over talking about how to grow your career in cyber. So I'll have more information on that coming out, some of the topics. If you guys have questions that you want to have answered there, let me know, and I can feed them into our loop system thing. Yeah, that's it. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Kate.
See what happens here, folks. Hi everybody, my name is Kate Vita, and I'm going to talk to you about my experience at DEF CON's ICS Village last year. So first, what is DEF CON? Well, it's a large hacking convention in Vegas with a lot of, it's a large party as well, a lot of cool like-minded people that have a lot of cool stuff going on, and I would say it's a definite go-to. So why the ICS Village? Well, in the past I've always done, like, I guess can't say always, but I've often run a contest in the contest area and haven't been able to see the rest of the conference. So in the past few years they started doing an ICS Village, and I really wanted to go to it because I have interest in ICS Village. So once I got there, you walk into the room and you look around and you can see a whole bunch of different types of things that are being used using ICS equipment. So that would be like in one corner they've reprogrammed PCLs to do like Tetris, and another one you could play around with a robotic arm and you can like pick up hand sanitizer, put it in a bucket. They had a wall in like the back corner that you could like plug into it, and it's its own SCADA thing, and you could like try to hack it, but I didn't have my laptop on me, so I just kind of kept moving. But in the center of the room they had the Cybati framework thing in a laptop, like a bunch of different laptops with this cool, and I'm going to show it to you guys in a second, mini kit. And the mini kit's something that I wanted, and I was told that you could potentially win this mini kit if you played in this competition. So of course that's exactly what I want to do. I want free hardware because I wanted to purchase it, but $500, I think it's around $500, is a little bit too much for me. So I wanted to dedicate the rest of the conference trying to win this mini kit. So first I kind of want to talk about ICS, and it stands for Industrial Control System, and that is kind of like an overarching processing thing, which I'll get into more in a second. And SCADA underneath that is the supervisory control and data acquisition, which is kind of the controlling and monitoring of that data. So where is it used? It's used in manufacturing, in water plants and treatment facilities, power generation, anything that has like a process involved that requires some amount of automation. So I will kind of get into that more. System components involved are RTUs, or remote terminal units, which are basically sensors in the process. So if you had like a temperature sensor, you wanted to know when it gets too hot or something like that, that would be where you'd put an RTU. Or a slightly smarter version of a sensor, the PLC, which has logic built into it that you can utilize better than the RTU. On top of that, they have an HMI, or human machine interface, which is basically the operator's view of the control system. So from there, they can like monitor stuff, see what's going on, and they can make changes based off of what is going on in the environment. And in a lot of SCADA places, they also include a historian, which collects all the data points from the sensors, and then you can use it for trend analysis or processing things better than you might have before. And if you had to tie all of them together and look at a picture, you've got like your PLCs here with a robotic arm, or like the sensor there, and the monitors where the HMI would be, and then the SCADA server itself is kind of the control part of that. So I'm going to get into a demo. The majority of this is going to be demo. And you guys are going to see my learning progression through this competition in the ICS Village. So obviously I kind of start out with 0. I knew absolutely nothing about it going in except that I was interested in the topic. So you guys are going to struggle with me as I go through the pain points of learning during this thing. In that, I'm going to show you some of the tools that I used and things that I found while I was in that competition. And the system will likely crash. There are things that we're going to try and play with that are going to end up killing the system, and we're going to have to come back and like reset it and do a few things. So bear with me while I reset things and figure that out. Feel free to stop me and ask questions at any point in time because, you know, we're all here for a learning environment. So yeah, I'm going to get to the demo. So first I want to show you, ooh, not that. First I want to show you guys the mini kit itself. And this is the piece of hardware that's attached to the laptop in all of the different laptops on this table. So you get to sit down and kind of play with it and look at it and see, what am I going to do with this thing? How am I supposed to win? So I'm going to move this camera, and I hope you guys can see this well. Let me know if you can't. That's not going to work well. So on it is, right there, it says TL2. And I guess you can't see that very well. And over there it says TL1. And then there are buttons on the side. I wonder if you could see that. Maybe that helps, maybe not. So you can press these buttons and say like, hey, I want these to flash. Or when you don't, they go back into it. And you can kind of see that. And so you might spend the first few minutes actually just playing with the hardware part of it, thinking, oh, maybe if I short something, I'm going to do something, or whatever. How are we supposed to win this competition? So, because I wonder where I put my marker. I'm going to start putting goals of what I had while I'm thinking during this competition on this board, so we kind of keep track of what we thought. Goals. And the first goal is win a mini kit. How do we do that? So you kind of have to think about what sort of things are malicious if you had this traffic light. And in here you can't really see very well, but they've got 2 lanes going back and forth, the main road and the side road. And if you were trying to cause some malicious thing, you would be like, all right, well, I could make everybody wait at 2 stoplights forever. That's cool. Or you could have both go green, everything crash, and somebody die. I don't know. So if that were the malicious intent, the new goal is, how do we make the lights go green? And that's not an MSU thing, but. So, you sit down with your new malicious intent, and I'm going to pull up these are the machines that they had sitting out there connected to these. And the first thing that I saw when I was there is this ladder logic code. So let me kind of scroll up and bear with me while I'm in this framework. So the first thing you see is this ladder logic code, and you have to think to yourself, if I want these lights to go green, I have to figure out how this thing works. So while you're trying to figure out how it works, I don't know if any of you have seen ladder logic code before, but you've got, and I can, you probably can't see it very well. Yep. Does that work?
You have to click off.
You have to click off of it, Kyle? What am I doing? All right. And I can move this? Okay, cool. So with a lot of different logic codes, you have this flip-flop, which I think is very important because it introduces a time in your logic. So you have, you know, at this time, we've got these lights doing this thing, but a second later, it might be doing something else. So as inputs come in, including the time, it might have a different output, and then, oops, let me sort this out. There we go. And these would be technically considered the output. So you saw the lights before where they have the 3 different colors. You can kind of match them up to the TL2 we have here for the red, for the green, for the yellow, and then up there you have the TL1 at the top. So you kind of see that those are the outputs that you're working on based off of what our inputs are, and then with the introduction of time. So I actually spent a ton of time working on this ladder logic code, trying to figure out what flaw in the code is going to make these lights go green. Turns out there isn't that. I wasted almost an entire day trying to figure that piece out. That is not the piece you need. So how else could we do this? And this is a program called Rex Draw, and it's just like the, I guess, visual representation of the logic. But if you go into, I guess I didn't open these, so again, bear with me. And these are tools that, like, you're just sifting around, you're sitting there trying to figure out what you're supposed to be using to make things go. We've got Rex View. Connect that to the thing as well. And in here, you can actually look at all the different components that you could see in the Rex draw now in their current state. Instead of with the logic all put together, you have this current, you guys probably can't see that very well, can you? This might be difficult to make you guys see it. Does you guys kind of see? Oh yeah, I can see that. So you can see that, and you can see the different values, and you can actually have, I think in some of these, it actually says what the time is. So you can be like, all right, during this time it's that, and as the time goes on, it'll clock through it. So let's go down to our GPIO. And in here, I was like struggling, obviously. Let me see if I can find it. It somehow just disappeared.
Isn't that in the bottom?
Did it go away? It did, thank you. So if I were to match this TL1 to GPIO 6, you can look through here in Rex View and find GPIO 6. Where am I? And I'm just going to make that a constant instead of, worrying about the rest of it. And I'm going to keep that on forever. And I'm going to switch back and forth between this and the camera so you can see. Now I've turned on this green light, which is partly a start. Now I have to turn off that red one, and it's still, the rest of it's still going through that sequence. So I'm going to just kind of fumble with this for a moment while I sort that out. And the other one's TL2 at GPIO 27, so we're going to just find that in the list as well. And we're going to just turn it off. We're going to see what it looks like now. Apologize because you guys can't see both the same. Oops, did I just do that one? My bad. My bad. I would say it's a little bit of guess and check anyway, but what else? Did I say 27? No, that should be off.
We were looking for 22.
Thank you. See, you'd just be right up there with me in the competition. We're going to turn that off, right? Is that what we're doing? Turn it off?
Yep.
Sounds legit. But I think we still have to turn one of them on. So let's double check. Yeah, and that one is TL2. Or 22? Is that what it is?
No,
Oh,
22
TL2,
is
which,
the one you just turned off.
thank you. So we're looking for GPIO 21. And we're going to turn that on. Beep. Look at me, success. I got them all green. And I want you to know, it was like a day. That was like a day to figure out that that's a thing. So we did that. That's fantastic. Did I win? No. That's not how you win. Because if you were sitting there at the traffic light making it go green, it's different than if you're sitting remotely trying to make it go green. And you have to think about what could potentially control it remotely. And that, in our diagram we showed before, would be an HMI. Luckily, we happen to also have the HMI somewhere around here. And I'm going to reset this now because I just broke it. So just know that that's a thing. And this was something we also had to kind of learn how this framework and all these wizards and what wizards do what and when to know to reset it was part of the thing. Trying to understand how things work. If anybody has questions, now would be a good time.
So how do you know it's broken? Is it just completely off now, or?
So I just stepped away from the code that it was running, and I set the values as constants. So they're no longer looking for the ladder logic code, they're looking for what I told it to be, and that's not really the function of the thing.
Gotcha.
So taking it out of it's what it's supposed to be. And you have to be super patient with this, and I wasn't at the time. It says you must wait for each prompt to go through and before you can do whatever, and I would start clicking away and then I have to reset it again. Patience is a virtue.
The Rex View program, is that live or is it like a snapshot?
Rex View is live.
Okay.
So as the time goes on, you're seeing as it is at that time.
So you could watch for when it turned green and when it turned
Yes.
red from there, okay.
Yes, you can. And you can also, you could look through the logic pieces and see the different, as time goes on, what all the different values and logic set are. There's a whole bunch there that you could play with for that. And there's you could press the blinking button and see them blink. All of that's available live. No other questions? This might take a minute. What's up?
How awkward is it standing up there without anything to say?
I'm gonna say that about as awkward as is speaking. This is not my normal venue of sharing information, I will say. And this might just break, so that's cool too. So this is me being impatient. I start clicking on things, and we'll be up here for an hour.
At any point during the competition, did you set all the lights on just to see if that would be one of the triggers, or?
Well, because the trigger is mostly the instructor saying, you win or you don't. You know, it wasn't like a mechanical thing. I'd say that, no, I don't think I did that, but I probably did over all the different things I did. Because I started bringing out wires and started trying to, like, I tried a lot of things with hardware before I even got to the ladder logic. And it's just a lot of trial and error to understand what the crap I'm looking at.
What would cause the most kind of chaos at a traffic light? Well, all the lights are on. Nobody knows what's going on. So some people would stop, some people would go. And
I'd say the majority of people, I never took driver's training, but I would assume that if you were taking driver's training, they would say something. If you don't know what the traffic light's doing, pretend that they're all stop signs. That would be, you know, what I would think they would say. But I'm going to just cancel this.
Especially here in Michigan.
Yeah.
You have way too much faith in society there, Kate.
Maybe I do. Maybe I do.
Oh, what if it's my turn?
Right. Oh, it's my turn. I like the most
All the
things.
lights are off, might as well be the same thing as all the lights are on.
I can see that. Makes sense.
I have to. Majority of people though, I see stop and take turns.
Oh, the lights are off? That must mean I need to go twice as fast as the speed limit.
Right.
That's what I would do, of course. Of all the
Of course,
things.
that's the logical thing.
Gonna turn on and see if
Right.
they got
I gotta make sure that I get there before the other guy.
You're gonna make it.
So we can see now that we've got everything reset, supposedly. And we have this HMI here, which I believe we need to start. So you can see this is what an operator might see while they're controlling this traffic light from afar. So it introduces like a remote piece of the control of this traffic light that is somewhat interesting. So if you were, I guess we could show you kind of the buttons. You can force, if I had my finger on the mouse.
That was a very long green light. I'd be a little ticked.
Which they can do, right? You can force side. I think it was already on side, so we force main. It'll put them both to stop, supposedly. Let me see blinking. Blinking is probably the easiest one to show, right? So it shows that, you know, now that they're blinking, and I can show you what it looks like on here, which I kind of already showed you guys with the button itself, but you can see that the HMI, or the operator, has the same control as somebody who was just sitting there pressing the buttons. So I'm going to put this back in an automatic state. And I'm going to start playing around with some tools. One of the tools that I learned about was called QModBus. And I'm just going to open up a terminal and type it in. And there's a reason that I'm using this, and that is in here. It says Cybati traffic light, Modbus TCP, which might be a giveaway. But earlier, while you're setting it up, it actually tells you what IP address this is at. So this piece kind of isn't that difficult, but unless I type it wrong. And we're going to connect to it on, and 502 is the standard Modbus port, which, I mean, it fills it out there for you, but if you were to look it up, it is. And at this point, I don't know anything about Modbus. So as a normal person at DEF CON, I pull out my phone, which is a great idea. And I want to win, right? And I think, let's pass that. Modbus. If you were to Wikipedia Modbus, you'd see this is the TCP frame with all the different bytes that go into it. Like, you've got the transaction identifier, and you don't necessarily know what all those do yet because you don't know anything about Modbus. But they happen to have function codes that you can use. And if you scroll down in the Wikipedia article, you can see all the different functions that are available. And some of the functions are available on some equipment and some aren't. But to figure out which ones are available, I'd just guess and check, which is probably the wrong way to do it. But I'll show you a better way to do it here in a second, which is by firing up Wireshark. As soon as that shows up there. And I'm just going to capture and say, I wonder what it's thinking about. And then from the HMI itself, I'm going to just hit the same buttons, right? Oh, look, the blinking. Oh, no, it's not. I put it back on, my bad. All right, and then stop this. So I happen to know which function it's using, so I'll spare you the time because I just guessed and checked that before. And the HMI itself is doing this read holding registers. And I don't know that much about Modbus, but I do know that they have both coils and registers, and they hold values in them. So the HMI is looking at registers 0 through 5 to figure out what it's supposed to display to the person monitoring and controlling it. So it's constantly doing this read holding registers to figure out what it should display to the person. So you've got that, but when I'm pressing the button, it happened to be hitting right single register. And the button I pressed was for the blinking, I believe. You can see the query and then the response here as well. So it's, hey, I queried this thing and I got this thing. So you could see that the coil 3, or I guess the register in this case, the register 3 has the data value of 1. But when we turn it back to somewhere in here, I think I turned it off. Yeah, I turned it off and set that to be 0. So you can see now that there's this spot in the register that if it's a value 1, it's going to be doing the blinking thing. If it's a value 0, it's not. So now how would I, as a person on the network, try to, get in the middle of that or, control it myself and set it from the HMI? And that's where this QModBus thing comes in. And I could do the same read holding registers and go from start 0 address and then go to 5, I believe it was, and just read the holding registers. And I can see here, right now it's set to the auto piece. So I'm gonna, in the HMI, set it back. Let's see what happens. Boop. Read it again. And now you can see that 3, again, through here, shows that the blinking piece is on. So what if I were to be the HMI and write this single register? And I'm going to write to 3, and I'm going to put this in. Let's see what happens. And over here you can see like the raw data, which is what would match that TCP frame that we were looking at in Wikipedia. And then over here it's the same request and response piece that we saw in Wireshark. So let's just go back to it. Hopefully blinking is on. Yeah, good news. Just saying, that's good news. And then, so yeah, this is a way that we could be controlling this light. And I was, at the time, thinking that I could control a register or coil that would set these both to become green from remote, and that would be huge, and I'd be able to figure that out. But because of the ladder logic code that's on the machine, it will never actually be both green based off of the different commands you're giving it or whatever else it is, because it's just not programmed to. And we're not, with this competition, you don't have the opportunity to reprogram it. So what other malicious things could we do for, this traffic light scenario? Let me turn blinking back off because it's kind of annoying to me. And in that case, you might screw around with the person at the HMI, right? So what are there that you could do to the HMI or the operator? Anybody have any guesses?
Have it display something different.
That's exactly what you need to do. So I wonder if I have that as a thing. I probably should have written down my other goal too, and that was doing it remotely. And I said it, but I meant it. And then I probably have a fourth one, but I didn't read my notes to know what that was.
That's with the HMI.
Sure, that sounds good enough to me. So the person who was kind of instructing all of this has an entire virtualized environment that he uses to teach people, because this whole entire framework is based off of educating people in SCADA and IoT and anything like that. So I'm going to go back to my somewhere around here. And this requires a mini kit. No, that's not the right one. Bear with me. Seems legit. And we're going to set this up so that you can actually see the core environment that he uses. Let's see. Don't touch anything until you're prompted. Let's get time for water. Anybody have any Modbus questions?
Did you see anybody write Modbus-based malware in the competition?
No. Most of the people were sitting down, messing around with the buttons, looking at stuff, reading up on Modbus, leaving. Not everybody was dedicated their entire time at the conference to this. So
How many were there? How many people?
People coming in and out. Well, they had.
People came in and out.
The problem is they also had presentations in there every half hour. So it'd be you'd be working on something, then you're suddenly surrounded by a bunch of people, then it's empty again. People would sit down. I would say less people had. I don't know, was probably going through it at least 100 people. I don't know. I was kind of focused, so I don't really.
I have a quick question about Modbus before we carry on. So
I might not be able to answer it.
we
Go.
looked at the Modbus package from Wireshark. We sort of used QModbus to send Modbus messages. Kind of looks a little plain text, a little unencrypted.
Oh, it's very much.
My
It's.
question is this really used in the real world? Because it looks sketchy. It looks like it's scary.
You see nothing.
It's really
Right, there's nothing behind the curtain. Modbus is one of the more common protocols used in ICS environments.
Don't worry, they always set the evil bit if they're doing anything. With it.
Right? That's the truth.
Pay no attention to the unencrypted packets on the wire.
Yeah, no, it's all in the clear. The CRC value that you could do could be generated through many different ways of generating CRC things. It's once you're on the network, you're kind of there. And this is this right here shows a network of where the HMI person would be sitting, and then the traffic light, which is remote, and then that introduces this threat person. So pretend you're on this network. And we're just gonna move this over here. And there's a script in here. Let me pull it up if I remember where it lives.
Yeah, I was gonna say one thing quick about the being everything in plain text. Because if I learned anything the last month from the FBI, encryption is bad.
We love encryption. Encrypt everything. Oh wait, and then decrypt everything. So there's a script here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about EtherCap. That's a tool used to do man-in-the-middle or ARP spoofing to whatever you're on the network for. So as long as you're on that network and able to do ARP spoofing, you can use EtherCap. And there's a script that they had built in over here, man-in-the-middle HMI, blah. And it has its own Ether filter that they generated using Ether filter. And then, you know, this remote target, which happens to be our traffic light scenario. And I could show you guys what the filter itself looks like. Not doing that. Not that. Just kidding. Let's go back. Oh, it's right here. So that's the generated piece. You generate it off of things like this. Not using VI. Hold on. Not while you're in that network. Yeah. That looks legit. Kinda. HMI on.
Kate,
Yeah.
someone asked a question. Can you repeat it to the microphone?
That would be if I were a better yes, I'll try.
Also, Martin says you're doing a good job.
Thanks. Thanks, buddy. All right. So this would be what the filter looks like that you would actually be using to generate that .ef file. And it looks a lot like Wireshark filters. So you see that you're looking for, and I'm not sure I showed very well that function 3 was reading the holding registers. And you know, function 6 was writing to the register, like writing that single register. In this case, the HMI is pulling all of those reading to see what's going on. And this man-in-the-middle attack is going to be saying, I understand you're asking to go read these, but I'm going to show you this other thing. So we're going to run that, hopefully, to DAO. And we're going to specify the subnet that this thing lives on because it just spews across everything. You can see that it's just listening to, oh wait, no, I'm running this not in the threat piece. That's going to ruin everything if I do that. Ein Moment. This one's in the threat thing, right? Or did I not do that right? I'm just going to close them both so we just open it back up. There we go. Deep, deep. And the subnet. So now it should be doing that. And as the HMI person, you're seeing all the lights are on. I kind of could screw up a lot of things doing that. And I don't really know the best way to show you guys. I couldn't find there's another piece of this, which is the water pump facility or the water tank. And that piece is free. You don't need the mini kit to look at it, but what's up?
So the HMI is showing this. Can you show us the lights
Oh,
to see
right.
what it's doing?
I'm sorry. In my mind, you guys can see the lights already. They're just doing their own thing.
Wow.
And if I were to be like, hey, I'm this HMI person, I'm going to hit this blinky light. Let's see if it turns on. Oh, wait. They still have complete control. They just don't know that they do in this scenario. Because they're still sending the commands to change the thing. And you as this threat probably could send the commands to change the thing too, but you're not changing the response. So if you mess with it, the person monitoring it is supposedly supposed to see what's going on.
So basically you could have it set to blinking here and then change the data value to 0 so that it's actually not blinking and it's still going through everything.
Yes, it would still be going through whatever its normal sequence is.
And it'll show here this, and that it's set to blinking, but it's not.
That is correct. So you've completely blinded the person at the HMI.
Malicious.
Malicious, finally. So imagine though if you had like a bigger system like the water tank thing or something else that has hundreds of registers. Maybe I should pull that up because I think we've got some time. This is going to be a disaster though because I haven't actually looked at this. I'm just stepping into this world and I hope you all agree with me. I was going to ask if you wanted to, but now I decided you do. So.
I thought you said patience was a thing. You can't just keep jamming on Control-C.
Oh, but I could. It spawned a whole bunch of things though, and you know, I have that control issue, so there's that. So, and I actually had to end up texting the guy who runs this, be like, I can't find this, I need to know where it is. Where's the wizard for this? But this part's actually the free piece because it's the community version. So it's a much larger network that, you know, you can do a whole bunch of cool stuff with. And while I was in the competition, though I didn't get to the end of this piece because I ran out of time, you still get to play with what is a much larger ICS equipment, I guess is the tank logics. Let's see what it looks like.
And this is water treatment.
This one has so many different things in it. It's got this HMI, which I assume is like a water treatment thing. It looks like your water tank, and you've got these things filled. So I'm going to make sure I press the OK button. So you can see all these buttons do something. Right?
It's easy to click everywhere.
So if you're
not in the public works department.
right, like, oops, sorry guys, I was just testing. Right. That's terrible. That's a bad joke, folks. So you kind of learn more about this as well.
It's not terrible. It's malicious.
Right, it's malicious. We'll just sort of, if you're going to leave it in some weird web interface, maybe that's what you need to do. Let's see if I can do keymod buzz. Actually, I like Wireshark better because it's going to tell us exactly what we're looking at instead of me guessing. Hopefully. All right, that's not true. So it's all about learning the environment you're in, right? So in this case, because he's actually set up a whole bunch of different virtual interfaces, capturing that one isn't going to help. But if you select this one or you do something, somewhere in here it'll tell you. Nope, it's in Wireshark. So N35, I'm going to make an assumption, is one of these. Oh gosh, what have I clicked on?
Got enough interfaces.
Click all of them.
You see he's built out a large network here. So we're going to do, oops, not that. Let's just undo what I just did. Click on that one and start capturing on the interface that has the thing on it. So here you can actually see the different reading and writing and everything else you can think of. Let's go back. Stop this so we can see which ones are controlling which, because that seems to be important. Let's do a read. So it's actually looking for registers somewhere completely not where I was expecting.
This is holding registers 3.
Yeah, but these weren't the registers I was expecting to see. Let's pull up Cybati and see what we pull. I'm going to start, where does he start? 16, I think, for 8 of them. Is that what that looks like? Oh, we probably should actually like connect to it though. This isn't terrible. All right, 10.0.1.30 and assume that the destination of that is. Just kidding.
How about 10? 10.1.10?
Oh, I didn't even see that. I'm blind up here, guys. So we're gonna look at the similar registers here. And I spent a long portion of the thing actually like going through and making a change in the HMI, and then I actually think it starts at 5,000 if I remember. Yeah. 20 of these. A little arbitrary, but so then you can see the value, the data values in each of those, and you're like, oh, I wonder what that does. And then in the HMI itself, you could play around and feel like, all right, so if I change that one, does something change in here? And read them again. And you can see now this one has this value. So I spent a lot of time in this just mapping out, if I have this value in this register, the HMI looks like this. And the whole goal I was going to have was that I could do like a man-in-the-middle attack. But because this isn't in, like I don't have a threat terminal on that network, I didn't build it out, and it was kind of that thing. So in all of these, we figured out so much about Modbus and all this other stuff, but have we actually won? Did we actually do anything here? And it took me a minute to say, wait a second, if we're, I came in here thinking that I was going to learn things about Modbus, or I was going to learn things about ICS or something like that, but I didn't even think about what a normal CTF might do. So I'm going to go back to this, this guy. He's going, and not that. Close this, close that. Close this. I don't know if you guys learned anything with the water thing, but that was. I might have to reset that too. Never hurts to reset it one more time, except that you guys have to wait. I know you all want to go drink or something. You're not the only one. Wizards, go back to this normal one. Shouldn't take too long for that one in the grand scheme of things. This was for me 2 days, so.
Now, did each of you have your own mini kit that you were breaking into, or is it just the one?
And the question was, does everybody have their own mini kit in this, or does you have one that you're working off of? And the answer is, every single machine that was sitting at that table had their own, so they could each play with it, they could each mess with it, because when you screw something up, you'd have to sit and reset it.
I was
So
gonna say, if everybody's kind of breaking it at the same time, then
it would be a disaster.
the guy behind the curtain would be kind of ticked off.
Oh, it has. I didn't even read that error. My bad. Hold on. Did I not stop the other one at the time?
No.
Oops. Ugh, that's a disaster. I'm gonna reboot it, guys. Sorry.
You never fix things by rebooting them. That's silly.
In a presentation, you do.
That's where we are.
I mean, I can't really go back and open up the core thing again and then, you know, come back and I don't know.
That piece that we just looked at with the shady web interface that you said was available for everyone to use. Where can we get that?
Oh, that's at the end. I'll share that with you. Or I guess I could share that with you while you're rebooting. But it ends up getting to be more exciting than that. You know, there's another step that's exciting. So in this community page on Google Plus is where the person who's kind of created all this, his name's Matt Llewellyn, he does demos of the framework itself, and he will also upload, I think in the frequently asked questions, somewhere around here, you can actually download, maybe general, no, that would be something else. It's, I believe that. I can't read that. That's just that. Where's this?
So if you could fight Google Plus and win, you will be rewarded, is what you're trying to say.
Right, exactly. So there's they have files that you download. They've got like the hash values of them, and you could download everything except the traffic light piece, and you need that for a bunch of the different scenarios, but not for all of them. So the water pump facility, you don't require it, and for some others, anything labeled community is something you don't need the mini kit for. Anything labeled mini kit is something you do. So they've got the pie image. If you already have a pie, you can put that piece in, but it's still missing the traffic light scenario. But hopefully this is done. Close. I'm close, folks. And let's pull this up. I'm gonna have to still run the wizard again, so apologize. But success is better than failure. There you go. And I thought about doing the Euro traffic light, but you know, it's not happening.
They're on opposite sides of the road. We don't care about that.
Stick with American.
I say stick with what I know. And I kind of want to reiterate, like going into this, I had no idea what to expect. I had nothing about anything. Didn't know this framework. Didn't know Modbus. Wanted to win the thing, and that's kind of a huge motivator because I like free stuff. And if it takes learning this thing for 2 days to get some free things, I think it's definitely worth it. Especially when you don't have $500 to do it yourself, which I think it's $500. Don't quote me on that. So now we have this normal traffic light scenario again. Almost started clicking on stuff without hitting OK. So if you're in a normal CTF, you might just like unmap this stupid thing. 619230.
Oh, hey, Kate.
Yes.
The Google Plus page you pulled off is a private community, but I'll send out the link where they say for everybody to click to join.
That works. That sounds like an awesome thing.
Thank you, Sam.
Let's say that's one less thing for me to do. Hooray, intern.
Sam's
Oh wait.
the real MVP.
It's on the YouTube video too.
So you see the ports open, so of course you're gonna be like, all right. Check out this little web interface. And this is to me like the silliest thing in the world.
Did I see?
There is no web page. Luckily, a lot of ICS equipment have alternative pages. So of course, as like a person, you'd be like, oh, WebIO Pi, I wonder what the default thing is. Whip your phone out again at DEF CON and Google what the stupid password is. And that's not correct. It actually took me a hint from the instructor to be like, well, we have standards here. I was like, oh, the password's Cybati. Darn it. So in here, you can actually go and you have access to all the GPIO pins just from the web interface, which is pretty much awesome. Like all of this time spent, and then it was kind of like, this is the thing.
Is this what he was looking for the entire time?
I think his entire goal in this is that you learn something. I think you have to show that you're learning something, and because I feel like during all of it, my goals were changing. You get the light screen. Well, I did that through Rex View, right? Try to do it remotely. It's each building step where he's getting you to the next step. Well, I don't think the water pump facility that I was playing in, which I ended up controlling somewhat, but not a man in the middle. I think if I had gotten that where I wanted to be, he would have given me another thing, right? It was just like a constant, as long as you're willing to learn, I'll be willing to teach sort of thing. So in this, I think, what did we say was 6 and something?
Yeah.
Wasn't it? I thought it was 22 and
21.
20.
Why don't we validate?
Yeah, 20 something and 27.
Yeah.
So, but the green ones are 21 and, let me pull up, 21 and 6. So we'll turn 6 on. Yep. Did that even turn it on? I can't see it. Nope. How do you turn it on? Nope, 6 is on now, so then 21. I know you guys can't see it, I'm sorry. That's
Sounds actually easy to read.
It's not working. I'm looking at it, it's not working. Either way, this totally does work normally. Or it doesn't. This is a way to control them, I promise. For some reason that isn't working. But I guess for me, what I was hoping everybody would get out of this is kind of like, hey, I can learn something in a day or so as long as you're focused and try and keep trying harder, even though it sucks to be wrong often. But the coolest thing is the timing of this presentation. Yesterday, Matt Llewellyn on this thing just posted a black box competition where you download this VM, and the goal is to win a mini kit. So if you guys all want to go win your own mini kit, after all this stuff you got to see, they have a different bottle processing piece where you can go out there and I can actually show you what those look like. I think he posted it somewhere. I don't know if you guys see it on the screen anywhere. For those of you interested, the link to the blink box thing is here. The black boxes. And like the first set of points are, I'm going to download this VM, and I'm going to install it, and I'm going to launch the thing. And then you go through the bottle processing unit, and you have to figure out very similar things like nmapping it, or Wireshark, what protocols it's using, what registers, What's the schematic of it, right? Each of those things are questions you have to answer and then submit down here somewhere. Boop. And you have until May 31st. And every single one of you now has a chance to win a mini kit, just like I got to do, and then have all the fun and learn a bunch of things about ICS.
Sweet.
So that's kind of where I was hoping people would think it was cool enough, because if no one can afford it, at least you can win it, right? And that's pretty clear.
Does it come with the traffic lights?
That is the mini kit. Because otherwise you have the pie, which you could get the image for, the traffic light piece, and I think it actually comes with 5 traffic lights where I only have 1. So you could be one up on me, and I believe on top of that you can also win free training, which I don't know how much that costs, but it's an added value to what I had. So
My Lego City's awesome.
so I know you're all super jealous of my mini kit. What now?
You won the pie as well, not just the board.
You win the board, the pie, and the online training, and the lights. At least that's how I believe I read that. He posted it just last night, so it's very fresh in people's minds, I think, and you have until May 31st to make it happen. So with that, that is the rest of my presentation. So if you have any questions, you know you could do that now. But I think
What ultimately won you the mini kit?
that's a great question. I don't actually know.
The only one to win a mini kit.
There was one other person who got to win a mini kit. And I don't remember what that person was doing because I couldn't spot them in the crowd if they were, I don't know what they had to do. But I know that because my goal was changing that I would just keep going until he said you could have it. And at the end of day 2, I was leaving to go watch my friend present on a wireless thing. He did a worm for the pineapple. So I was like, well, I've got to pack up all my stuff, but I really want to keep playing this competition, but I have to leave and watch this presentation. I'm actually wearing a shirt with his face on it right now. And he's like, well, just so you know, you won the mini kit, so take it with you. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I don't actually know which thing got me to win that, but I would say that learning experience and trying to understand the different tools involved was definitely worth the time it took to do it. Even if you guys don't give a shit about ICS. Just saying. And yeah.
Plus free stuff.
Yeah.
Free stuff, that's the whole point. I think he realized that was a motivator when he started it. But any other questions?
When there was the Wireshark capture of the packets going back, would it be possible to create a false packet, send it to the controller, and have it assume that it's actually from the where it's supposed to be receiving commands from?
Well, that would be kind of what EtherCap does while you're ARP spoofing what it's expecting to see, and you're waiting for these read registers, and you're giving it whatever you want to. It didn't have to be all on. It could have been anything you wanted it to be. So yes, there's a way to do that, but you have to be on the network to.
I was going to say, do you have to intercept the other traffic, or can you just generate one and send it?
I would say that you have to generate and send it, but I'm not sure. No, because you're not actually controlling value in the HMI piece. It's looking to read the values off of something else. So while it asks what it's reading, you're sending it what you want it to be. I don't think you could just set that by yourself.
So
I
you
could be
can't-
correct. But
You can't generate like a write command packet to have it rewrite it within the actual traffic light?
Oh, well, you could do that. That's what we were doing when we were sitting there, right? But to get like the all green or whatever we wanted it to be, we couldn't take it out of the sequence that it was programmed for. So if you wanted to force sides, yeah, you could do that. We forced it blinking through the QModBus thing. So you could do it, but I mean, it's still following the sequence of a normal traffic light. So if you say you turned it blinking or didn't, it's going to stop first, and then one of them's going to turn green, and then it's going to force the other one, then it's going to stop first. So there were safety mechanisms, I would think, built into that logic code.
Did they ever say how hard it was to get on the network?
How hard? No, you're simulating it as though the threat exists on the network. I assume that he's got other network. I think if I still had that community piece up, it showed different, like a DMZ, and it showed like a whole bunch of stuff. I could pull that up, and we won't have to wait for it to load just for seeing it. Hold on. It's under test environment. And I'm pretty sure you could build out any one of these. So here, I don't know if you can see that. It's got the external access. You could open up a terminal by double clicking on the N54 piece, and you will have a terminal on that box, right? So you could play as though you're off that network, and then slowly work your way into that network if that's what you wanted to do.
Okay.
Yeah, but you have to have this built out in one of these. In that other scenario where we had the threat sitting there, that was already built out for it, and you could actually like you can create objects in here. I don't know how to use this framework yet, someday. So I don't know how to build all these objects out. I tried once and I failed miserably.
Now that you have the mini kit, you don't want to learn anymore. We see
I really don't work well unless I have a goal. So just herping the derp and fuddling around doesn't really get me anywhere. Yeah, so you can kind of, and I guess I didn't show that very well, but if I were, oh no. So now I'm a terminal on that box, and you see it from that perspective. Any other questions?
Have you done enough with this and or SIP compliance to know if they're actually going in the right direction, trying to protect SCADA networks, or is it just too early in this kind of networking to have a good framework for protecting it?
I would say if you're trying to protect a network, you don't wait for a regulation to tell you to do it. SIP is a regulation piece, right? So if
I mean, for the other people who are we?
well, I guess that's, maybe I've got a weird stance on that.
To know how bad it is, just go search on Shodan.
It has to say, Shodan's got a lot of cool stuff. If you follow this on Twitter, every single day he's found something new on Shodan that you can, play around with, quote unquote. I'd say that the framework for this isn't to protect the system necessarily. I mean, it is, but it isn't. It's to educate people in how to protect it. So some of these labs that he's got, if I stop this is going to be a disaster. Watch that. If you go into the shortcuts and labs, I think, somewhere, nope. Let's go to wizards. Minikit? Nope, not that one either. Let me go back to wherever I was a long time ago. Shortcuts, labs, minikit, which would require the minikit, right? And you run this lab, it'll set it up, and then it'll show you this, oh, let's look at editor filter, which I didn't know these existed while I was in there, otherwise I probably would have stepped through this. Where he's actually like, oh, look at what this could be. And this is the entire how he would explain learning the man-in-the-middle attack. So then you can review ARP, and it pulls up in each of these shortcuts and wizards different steps of you learning it. So in here, I think it says enable Mac security, right? So you end up running that, and it shows you, not only do you see how it's bad on the network, but he's trying to educate you in how you would secure it. And I think in previous competitions that he's had, you actually have to write what you would do to secure the thing. So I think it does get you in a better spot. How fast industry goes is not mine to say.
Thanks.
Yep.
Fair to say, though, a lot of this ICS stuff was not built with security in mind.
Right. I just watched a talk at, from like S4 4 years ago that said, what did they call it? It's specifically insecure, something.
Yeah.
It was built insecurely.
It wasn't even made for IP.
Right. It's not made to be
It's
secure.
serial.
It's specifically that. And it's an afterthought, but I think people are pushing back to vendors today now to get the security pieces built in before, but to replace something like that in legacy equipment is kind of difficult. They're monolithic.
Did he speak anything about any of the equipment still being vulnerable to the Stuxnet virus?
Did who speak about that?
The guy that was teaching you.
He actually didn't speak at all. He just wandered around.
Oh.
And like heckle me while I'm doing the wrong thing. It was kind of like that. It wasn't necessary. So, unfortunately.
Target if you had specific equipment that Iran had purchased by serial number.
I almost want
Well, they
to
had
bring up
modified
this
that
other.
You can modify it and pretty much have it go after
See if I
any.
can find.
It's actually been found to be in the wild now, not just in
Yeah.
Iran.
It's
Grew, and it's attacking other PCLs. PCLs that it wasn't supposed to find ever. Yeah.
Somewhere in here. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. It's called Project something. I just saw this like 2 days ago.
You said it was insecure by design? Is that
Insecure by Design, that's what it was. This article that was just posted was about the death of Insecure by Design, kind of like looking upward towards the abilities of ICS in the future. And it links, I think, somewhere in here, a video they talked about in this project 4 years ago. So they've been working on it. They know it's a problem. Everyone knows PLCs have issues and stuff like that, but they actually unleashed a whole bunch of people to attack them, to push back on vendors and build better equipment. So that was something they worked on a long time ago that they're obviously still working on today. Anything else? Anybody? Everybody's good? Everybody loves ICS now, right? They all want to go secure it, go somewhere, do something? Cool. Thank you, guys.
Alright, before we go, everybody watch your eyes.